I don't know who needs to hear this, but just file that bankruptcy. Just file. Rich people do it all the time. File bankruptcy. Reset yourself. Stop paying these credit repair companies. They're scamming you. Go ahead and just reset your finances. When you file, now here's the critical part. After you file, you need to never ever do it again. Never file again. Never miss a payment again.
I was a bankruptcy paralegal for 6 years, and let me share something with you. All social classes file bankruptcy. Doctors, dentists, the rich, the poor, all file bankruptcy.
What is the worst thing about bankruptcy? I've been asked that question a lot as a bankruptcy lawyer. I've been practicing almost 30 years. I've written a book. I'm on a lot of podcasts. I have my own podcast. And the number one question that I get is, what are the pros and the cons of filing for bankruptcy?
The biggest, most confusing thing about bankruptcy may be the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy. Why is this such a prevalent issue in the United States? In fact, bankruptcies are up substantially from last year, marking 2025 as the most horrible year for bankruptcies ever in US recorded history for Americans. So today we'll look at a few videos and talk about why bankruptcy is soaring in 2025.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but just file that bankruptcy. Just file. Rich people do it all the time. File bankruptcy. Look, after 2 years, FHA, you can buy a house. After 2 years, VA, you can buy a house. You can get a car probably when you file or immediately after it's discharged. If you were making a lot of money one day or whatever, and you bought too much of a car and it got repoed, now you got $30,000 of debt on your car. You bought a second car, $10,000 car. That I got repoed too. $40,000 in debt. Bro, file bankruptcy. Reset yourself. Stop paying these credit repair companies. They're scamming out of you. Go ahead and just reset your finances. When you file, now here's the critical part. After you file, you need to never ever do it again. Never file again. Never miss a payment again. Ever. Utilization low. Don't take out of inquiries. Enter a good financial ecosystem. Chase, Credit Union, Navy Federal. Enter them. They will do pre-approvals. Don't get them hard inquiries. Stop going to them dealerships and having them run your credit a bunch of times. Stop doing that. Stop. Keep your shit locked. Somebody try to run it, they gonna get a block. That is how you do it. I don't know who needs to hear this. I'm getting told, just do it. Reset your finances. Fix it. Stop trying to do this, that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You owe them money. You need to pay it. If you can't afford to pay it, set up a payment plan. If that doesn't work, file bankruptcy. 7 or 13. Just do it. Reset. You f***ed up. Relearn. You messed up. Cool. Hard times happen. I get that. Don't come at me for that. I understand that. I've been there before, right? But now, stop doing all this mysterious to try to make debt disappear. That's f***ed up. You owe them money. That bank took a chance. Santander took a chance on your ass, and you burned them. And they want their money back. What the f***? Navy Federal took a chance with you. You burned them. They want their money back. And you try to mysteriously remove it? No. Just tell them, hey, I can't pay you. Bankruptcy. Hey, I can't pay you. Let's do a payment plan. Now you're start increasing.
Few things are more refreshing than raw honesty, and in many ways he's not off the mark. I typically say that bankruptcy should be the last resort. However, for some individuals this may be the only way out. We've done videos about credit card debt on this channel, and we've seen individuals that are in $80,000, $100,000 of credit card debt, and in that case that makes sense to file for bankruptcy and just restart. However, like he said, where I would be very careful is for those individuals that have the natural proclivity to just spend without any budget and that have shopping addictions. Those individuals will just end up getting themselves back into debt whilst also having bankruptcy on their record. If you do decide to file for bankruptcy because you do believe that is the way out for you, first I would take the time to genuinely learn everything about bankruptcy and see if it truly is for you. But once you come to that conclusion, you need to take a good look in the mirror and decide to say, I will never do this again. Let's look at the comments. They're kind of funny. I will trust a guy who has 3 collars on. This man's info is valid. He's wearing a Patagonia vest. He knows what he's talking about. Come on, man. As a bankruptcy paralegal, I approve this message. LMAO yelling at us like Bernie Mac. Hey, man, rest in peace, Bernie Mac, man. That's one of the GOATs. I remember those days from my childhood. Them student loans don't qualify. Yeah, you student loan guys, you guys are cooked, man. It is so horrible, the precarious situations that we put our young adults in this country in just because they wanted higher education and they wanted to better their lives. However, that's a different subject for a different video, and we're going to make a video on student loans on this channel here soon. My court date is Monday, $70,000 gone. I'm keeping my house too. I'm so glad I'm doing this. I work in wealth. They file that bankruptcy a lot. Yeah. It's a little hidden trick that the ultra wealthy do. Our own president has employed this tactic, and this allows them to evade taxes, which is their ultimate enemy.
I was a bankruptcy paralegal for 6 years, and let me share something with you. All social classes file bankruptcy. Doctors, dentists, the rich, the poor, all file bankruptcy. It is not meant to be, I think it gets a bad name that if you file bankruptcy, you're poor, you're broke, you're not. It's not. I've always told clients that it gives you a fresh start because it truly does. If you're eligible, it can alleviate a lot of debt and a lot of stress. I've had clients who committed because of their debt. I've had clients who tried to commit because of their debt. However, it is not worth it. It is not worth your life. If you have the ability to file bankruptcy because you are struggling financially, or you're about to lose your home, or you want to just start over because you got in credit card debt, or you're getting divorced, or anything like that where it's putting you in a huge financial deficit and causing stress, and you just seem like you're drowning and you can't catch up, filing bankruptcy may be an option for you. I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can. I filed so many bankruptcy petitions from Chapter 7 to Chapter 13 to Chapter 11. So ask me anything if you want to. Maybe I'll do a series on this later, but I just want you to know that it is an option for you, and it doesn't matter what social class you're in. Also, I want to say that after bankruptcy, you do have the ability to rebuild your credit and your financial history again. You can buy a home again, okay? You can purchase a car again. It's literally what I said it is, a fresh start. So if it's something that you've been thinking about, consider it and act.
Let's go ahead and look at some of the numbers on bankruptcy in America today. This comes from Epic News. Total U.S. bankruptcy filings for the 12-month period ending June 30th, 2025 were 542,529 cases, an 11.5% increase over the previous year. Filings have been consistently rising in 2025 across both consumer and commercial sectors, driven by factors like high interest rates, inflation, and increased debt levels. Now let's go ahead and look at the metrics and break down the total filings that have happened. Of the total 522,529 filings, 519,486 were non-business filings, 23,043 were business filings, 333,321 were Chapter 7, 8,408 were Chapter 11, while 200,290 were Chapter 13 filings. Now you may be asking, why are Chapter 7 and 13 filings so abundant while Chapter 11 seem much more rare? Well, it's pretty simple. It's because Chapter 7 and 13 filings are for non-business entities.
What is the worst thing about bankruptcy? I've been asked that question a lot as a bankruptcy lawyer. I've been practicing almost 30 years. I've written a book. I'm on a lot of podcasts. I have my own podcast. And the number one question that I get is, what are the pros and the cons of filing for bankruptcy? And I've had a lot of time to think about that question. The pros are everything. Bankruptcy is probably better than anything else you've tried to do to manage your debt. So lots of pros. You might be able to completely walk away from credit card bills. In the worst case scenario in a Chapter 13, we get to stop all your compounding interest, and we can cram down the interest on your cars and your home to a reasonable one if they're not reasonable. And we're going to give you a bunch of time to pay it off if you have to. I mean, you get to get rid of cars that you can't afford or that you are upside down on. You can get out from under contracts that you unwittingly got into. So what are the cons? What are the drawbacks to filing for bankruptcy? Well, a lot of people will tell you that your credit will be ruined. I don't believe that. In fact, if your credit score is under about 560, your credit score goes up when you file for bankruptcy. So if your credit score is ruined, it's ruined right now. And bankruptcy is how you get out from under that. Bankruptcy is how you take a crappy situation and you make it better. So your credit score is going to go up if it's below 560. You're going to be able to qualify to buy a home in 2 to 4 years. You're going to be able to buy a car the day after you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And you're going to be back to a 720 credit score in about 12 to 24 months. So what are the drawbacks? Literally just the shame and embarrassment that you are placing upon yourself. That's it.
Now, a question I've gotten a few times before is, why do rich people file for bankruptcy if they're, well, rich? And the answer to that is actually simpler than you would expect. Even billionaires, yes, billionaires with a B, file for bankruptcy. Typically, billionaires will file for bankruptcy either when liquidity evaporates, debts accelerate, or legal obligations convert unrealized gains into enforceable claims. This is because many billionaires and Deca and Centa millionaires have most of their wealth in assets, meaning that their wealth is never actually just liquid. 99% of the time, their wealth is tied up in assets, and the way they can get away with not paying taxes is by not realizing their gains. However, like I said, sometimes legal obligations will force them to realize those gains, which would leave them with a pretty hefty tax bill. Thus, the rich will file bankruptcy to avoid this action. Okay, let's go ahead and transition into today's irrelevant video and take a slight break from the heavy topic that is Chapter 7, 13, and 11 bankruptcy. I have no clue what today's irrelevant video is, so I'm excited to check it out.
I didn't just want to know who's the number one responsible for this type of rap? Who's responsible for this type of rap? Please tell me, deadass.
What the fuck? What the hell was that? Was that a song? What the fuck, man? Oh my gosh, bro. That is why I call these segments irrelevant. That has got to be like one of the most irrelevant videos we have seen on this channel. Like that has nothing to do with bankruptcy. What the fuck, bro?
This may be one of the most confusing things about bankruptcy, but also one of the most crucial things to understand. My name is Ben, and I specialize in building bankruptcy calculators to help people get out of debt cheaper, easier, and faster. And I also work with about 100 different bankruptcy attorneys across the US, so I understand bankruptcy really well. Now, this is not legal advice, but for informational purposes only. The biggest, most confusing thing about bankruptcy may be the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy. One of those options could take 3 to 5 years versus 3 to 5 months and cost 3 times more in attorney fees. So we're going to cover 3 things that are important to know, but one of the biggest things I want you to understand is how much it costs you specifically an estimate for both those options, Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy. First, I want to give you a quick rundown of the differences between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So Chapter 7 bankruptcy often takes 3 to 5 months to get a bankruptcy discharge of the debt. That means the forgiveness of the debt, which is why you generally file bankruptcy. Now, Chapter 13 bankruptcy takes 3 or 5 years. So you kind of think higher number, longer time. The other thing is that Chapter 13 bankruptcy can cost 3 times the amount of attorney fees because they're often more complex. Now, a Chapter 7 bankruptcy is on your credit report often for 10 years as a public record, while Chapter 13 bankruptcy is on your public record for a total of 7 years.
Very information heavy video. If you've learned something new, which I'm sure most of you have, drop a like or comment down below. That would be great. Now, based off of the information from that video, you may be asking, why would anyone file Chapter 13 if Chapter 7 sounds so much better? You would have a great point. However, to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you would actually have to qualify for it, and your income needs to be within the state's threshold. So yes, a Chapter 13 bankruptcy is a more expensive and longer option, but it could be conducive to folk that are trying to get an asset caught back up or stop their home from going into foreclosure. Also, you could be at risk for losing your home that you could have tons of equity built up in if you file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, if you have equity that is above the exemption. And there are other reasons, but that's just a couple that I could think of off the top of my head. So overall, what did we learn in today's video? Well, honestly, a lot. This is a very informational video, so I hope you guys took something away from it. We learned the difference between Chapter 7 and 13 bankruptcy, which are really the only ones that are going to be pertinent to your situation. We learned the pros and the cons for bankruptcy, as well as the bankruptcy statistics for 2025, and which chapter of bankruptcy would be most beneficial to your financial financial situation. That's gonna do it for today's video, guys. I hope you learned something. If you did, like I said, drop a like on this video or comment down below. I always try to provide value in these videos so that each and every one you could take away something and learn something from them. This channel is supposed to be fun but educational at the same time, and I love nothing more than to share my knowledge with other people passing by. Consider subscribing. I plan to upload frequently. Remember, guys, the best time to invest was yesterday. The second best time is today. The time is always right to do what is right. Peace out.